In this lesson, we have to discuss the gateway issue in all of contract law. So anytime you approach a contract law fact pattern, I always want you to run through the following 2 steps before you do anything else. Step number 1, you need to get your bearings by identifying where you are in the flow of your contract law analysis. Is this a formation issue? Is this a performance issue? Is this a remedies issue? Or is it some combination of the 3? Remember, we talked about this a lot in our last video, and we're going to continue to talk about this in the beginning of every video in this series. So don't worry if you don't fully understand how all of this plays out. We're going to go through it in a lot of detail, but this is going to be critical when it comes to issue spotting a contract law fact pattern. So again, as we go through the videos, we'll talk more and more about this. So by the end of the series, everyone's really quick at issue spotting a contract law fact pattern. But this is going to be step number 1, right? Getting our bearings, identifying where we are in the flow of our contract law analysis. But after we do that, right, step number 2, before we jump into actually applying black letter law to the facts, which I know everyone's always really excited to do, everyone wants to get into it and start talking about formation and performance and remedies and dive into the big meaty topics, right? Before you do that, a critical thing is going to be step number 2, right? Contract law is unique in that we have this big gateway issue. And of course, this is the subject of today's video, right? What rules are you playing by, right? Before we jump into any analysis of any black letter law, we have to identify what rules govern our contract. Because as we go through our videos, we'll see that in many instances, the law is going to be completely different whether we're applying Article 2 of the Uniform Commercial Code or the common law. So we absolutely, before we jump into and start analyzing fact patterns, we have to know what rules we're playing by. Is this chess or is this checkers? Is this the red pill or is this the blue pill, right? However you want to remember it, it doesn't matter. The key is to remember that contract law is unique in that we have 2 entirely separate universes. And before we start applying law to facts, we have to know what universe we're in. Are we in the Article 2 of the Uniform Commercial Code or UCC universe, or are we in the common law universe? And the good news here is that making this determination is relatively straightforward, right? If we're dealing with a contract that deals with the purchase or sale of goods, we know Article 2 of the Uniform Commercial Code, or UCC, applies. And the UCC defines a good as all things that are movable at the time of identification to the sale of the contract, right? So the operative word there, though, is going to be movable. Any object, item, thing that is movable. This dry erase marker, this dry eraser, right? Dry erase marker eraser, right? This whiteboard, anything that's movable is going to be considered a good under Article 2 of the Uniform Commercial Code, right? So what are things that are not movable? Well, the big ones that we're going to think about is anything that's attached to the ground. So this would be land and real estate, right? That's why we say that the common law applies to service-based contracts and real estate contracts. Real estate is not movable, so that's not going to fall under Article 2 of the UCC. So if we're dealing with real estate or services, it's going to be the common law. So some quick, easy examples. If you're hiring someone to mow your lawn, right? Is that a service or is that a good? Hiring someone to mow your lawn is a service. So that contract's going to be governed by the common law. If I'm offering to sell you this dry erase marker for $5, is that a goods contract or is that a services or real estate contract? Right, that's a goods contract. So that contract's going to be governed by Article 2 of the UCC. So what if we have a mixed contract, a contract that deals with both goods and services, right? We have a mixed contract. Do we apply both at the same time? So if we have a contract that is for the purchase or sale of this dry erase marker plus shipping, right? Well, if I'm offering to sell you this dry erase marker for $10 and I'm also offering to ship it to you, well, you're buying a good, that's a movable item, right? You're buying this, the UCC defines this dry erase marker as a good, so that's a contract for the purchase or sale of a good, but I'm also shipping it to you, which is a service. So what do? Do we apply both? Do we say the contract falls in both universes at the same time? No, right? That's the one thing we never ever do. We do not ever want to apply elements of both the common law and Article 2 to one contract, right? You are, again, it's either the red pill or the blue pill. It's chess or it's checkers. We cannot apply rules from Article 2 and the common law at the same time to a contract. Even if that contract is a mixed contract and we're dealing with something that has elements of goods and services, as long as it's an indivisible contract, we are not going to apply both universes at the same time. And I see students do this all the time, and it always makes my head explode. That's why I'm emphasizing it, because it's usually going to be disastrous, right? If you're applying Article 2 to a contract for someone to mow your lawn, that's going to end up being catastrophic, right? You're going to get everything wrong most of the time, right? Because the Article 2 in common law in lots of areas, and we'll see this as we go through our videos, is going to treat fact patterns very differently. So we have to know what universe we're in. But what do we do there, right? Okay, so we had this purchase for a dry erase marker, which is a good, but it's also got some shipping involved. What's our test? How do we know whether Article 2, UCC, or common law applies? How do we make the determination whether this is a goods contract or a services contract when it has elements of both? Well, the answer here is the predominant purpose test, right? Predominant purpose test. We're going to ask, what is the predominant purpose of the contract? Why are you really entering this contract? What's the predominant purpose? Are you entering this contract because you want a dry erase marker? Or are you more interested in just having something shipped to you? Are you somehow more interested in the shipping? Obviously there, the predominant purpose is the dry erase marker. You're entering this contract because you want the dry erase marker. The shipping is just an ancillary part of the contract. The predominant purpose is the purchase or sale of a good, this dry erase marker. So that means that contract is going to be governed 100% by Article 2 of the Uniform Commercial Code. We're not applying the common law to that contract in any way, shape, or form. We are in Article 2 of the Uniform Commercial Code. We're in the red universe, right? We're in the UCC universe. So we're applying UCC law to that contract. We're not applying common law, okay? So the one caveat to this, right? One thing that I'll just mention before we look at some more examples would be the situation where we have a divisible contract, right? So imagine that we have a divisible contract, right? So this is typically going to be in the form of an installment contract. Thank you so much for watching this video preview of our Legal Education Accelerator Program, or LEAP for short. If you would like to see the conclusion of this video and gain full access to our entire 1L and 2L video library, integrated outlines, streamable audio versions, additional practice exams with explanations, and much more, we invite you to head over to our website and join the thousands of law students who have already enrolled. To get started with your no-risk free trial today, simply click the link in the description box below or visit www.studicata.com/leap.
Hi everyone, my name is Serena and I'm currently a law student at South Texas College of Law, Houston.
Hi everybody, my name is Shiva and I'm currently a law student at Southwestern.
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle and I am a first year student at South Texas College of Law, Houston. I use the Studicata study video series last semester to help me prepare mostly for contracts. And I actually made an A+ in contracts last semester, which I greatly dedicate to the Studicata videos.
By using Studicata to help me prepare for my final exam, I was able to score the highest grade out of my class on the final and even have my essay distributed as the model answer. Not to mention I had done quite poorly on the midterm and was struggling throughout the whole course of the semester, understanding the material and keeping up with lectures.
Because of the Studicata video lectures, I was able to go into my exams with a feeling of confidence. I didn't have to worry about what the rules of law were or how I was going to organize my answer to an essay question.
I would absolutely recommend the Studicata series and their online course materials to anyone. I think that they are not like professor lectures that you might find online or other outside study materials that you may encounter. I think that the Studicata videos really focus on not only ensuring that you understand the material that you're going to encounter on your final, but they also help you to understand kind of the best method for test taking, and they really break down how to approach each problem and the best ways to tackle certain methods on testing, and I think that's really important, and I think it's really special. I don't see that anywhere else in any of the other online resources that I've found. So I would certainly recommend Studicata to anyone who is studying in law school right now. Good luck on your studying, and you're going to do great.
I would definitely recommend Studicata to anybody watching this video. Give it a chance. I'm positive that you will love it, that you will get a lot out of it, and that you will be happy that you gave it a chance. I definitely am. I know I will be using Studicata in the future.
And I cannot thank Studicata enough for getting me through my first semester of law school. I will definitely continue to watch the Studicata video lectures throughout my law school career, and I highly recommend that any future or current law student do the same.